Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GAA with me, Seamus Brady, your host, and for this one I'm joined by Matthew Hurley, the GAA Statsman, to run through all of the weekend's action from the GAA. Matthew, we're fresh off watching the Monaghan-Tyrone game. I mean, that game is the first one we're going to talk about, but wow, an absolutely incredible weekend of action.
Unreal. It was a little bit of games this weekend, but a brilliant weekend of action, as you mentioned there, Seamus. Thanks for having me on your channel again. Do brilliant work on Play on GA. Yeah, brilliant weekend of football. Probably the Tyrone Monaghan game was probably the only game, a bit of excitement, or maybe that's an unpopular opinion when you look at the other games. The ladies' football, both two of them were finished really before the final whistle. Cork and Galway wasn't really great. Derry and Fermanagh went to the man marking system. I don't know, did it work? It probably didn't because they got hammered in the end. But that Tyrone Monaghan game, as you mentioned, was absolutely brilliant. And we'll get on to Ryan O'Toole's goal as well. I'm not sure when many people, including yourself and myself, went for the goal in that situation. Would we have fisted it over? Most people would have fisted it over, definitely. So a brilliant weekend of action, and looking forward to getting stuck into it.
Yeah, no, fact. And just a quick reminder to anybody that's watching us, get involved in the discussion, get involved, throw your comments in, and me and Matthew will discuss whatever you want us to in this video. So we're going to run through the games one by one. We're starting with the main one, which of course is Monaghan 2-17, Tyrone a goal in 18 from Healy Park in Omagh. Just an absolutely outstanding game of Gaelic football. Two evenly matched teams. I mean, when you look back through the years of the fixtures between Monaghan and Tyrone, you think even of the Ulster final in 2021, that was such a back and forth game. Like, these two teams are so evenly matched and they produced one hell of a game here. And I think there were multiple stages where I thought Monaghan have won it. Now Tyrone have won it. And it kept going back and forth and finishes off with the Ryan O'Toole goal. But before we break it down, this was just a brilliant game of Gaelic football.
Unreal. It was definitely. And yeah, when you think about Tyrone, definitely had the better of it in the first half of Monaghan. They stayed in the game with accurate shooting. I think they had 80% accuracy in the first half, kicked 8 shots out of 10, which was brilliant. And but the downside, they only 3 shots from play, and you were thinking Tyrone should win this pretty easily. But Vinnie Corey must have said something to the Monaghan players at halftime, because he definitely got them pumped. I think Conor McManus mentioned it to Joanne Cantwell at the end of the game as well, that Vinny, he's a brilliant lad and motivating players. And you look at Stephen O'Hanlon's goal, that changed everything. Then Tyrone get back into the game with Sludden, and McCurry seems to get the winning point. And you're thinking when Ryan O'Toole gets that ball, you're thinking, okay, we're going to extra time. We're going to be here for another while. We're going to be here. We're probably going to push back the podcast here till about 10 o'clock at this rate. But then, no, he went for the goal and he went in. Fair play to Ryan O'Toole. Outstanding finish. And it is up there with, late goals throughout GAA history. You look at Mark Keynes in 2020. You look at Conor McKenna's against Kerry in Croke Park that time. You look at Seamus Darby's goal in 82. You look at Kevin McMenamin's goal for Dublin against Kerry. It's definitely up there. And Ryan O'Toole has written himself into GAA history. Brilliant goal, and well deserved for Monaghan, because they just wanted it more in the second half, and they got there in the end. And yeah, it's a tough one to take for Tyrone now, because obviously there's 2 quarter-final defeats in a row in Ulster, and I don't think they'd take it well up there.
Oh, without doubt, because, I mean, All-Ireland champions in 2021, then back-to-back years, you get knocked out in pretty much the first round of your provincial championship. I know that there is the preliminary round, but Tyrone haven't played in that, and they get knocked out pretty easy by Derry. So I forgot that they beat Fermanagh last year. They beat Fermanagh, then lose to Derry. And then this year, beaten again at the first hurdle. But the thing that would be frustrating about this for Tyrone is they played well. Like, for stages of this game, they played really, really well. Particularly, as you mentioned, the first half. Let's dive into that. Tyrone in the first half were really, really good. Niall Morgan's kickouts were absolutely fantastic. They were really, really tight at the back. And up front, Derek Canavan put on an absolute clinic.
He did, yeah. And I think he hit, 5 shots in the first half, 100% shot conversion.
Like, that's crazy. And the finish for the goal as well, because he got through and he lined up his body as if he was going to smash the ball to the left, to his left, and Rory Beggan dived that way, but he opened his body up last second and placed it into the other side of the goal. That's a fantastic finish. He's such a high quality player, and at 22, this guy's a problem.
Yeah, and I think it was quite awkward for his father and the Sunday game panel at halftime. You know, lots of panelists would have praised Dara for that performance, which was outstanding. But Peter kind of had to be on the fence thing, and I wouldn't have wanted to be in his shoes there. But you look at Tyrone, the first half, outstanding. Yeah, as you mentioned there, they weren't shooting particularly well when you think about, but it was still 61% shot conversion rate, which was pretty good. They conceded a lot of frees, and they were very cynical in the first half. I will say that. Noel Mark's kick out 100% accurate. That is absolutely superb. Like they were turning over the ball. They were brilliant. And when you look at Monaghan, like we mentioned about Tyrone losing the game but playing well, but Monaghan it was kind of a situation where Monaghan were outplayed in the first half. But again, they were playing well. They were playing well up front. They hit 8 points out of possible 10 shots. Like you can't get much better than that in fairness. And McManus, he was dragging them in that game from frees. Like you look at Connor Boyle was very good. Rory Beggan at times in the first half, he was doing his bit. Like Eamon Fitzmaurice actually mentioned on RT commentary, and they definitely showed my stats as well, that he was kicking it to the Monaghan players, but Monaghan were just fumbling the ball down to Tyrone pressure. And to be honest, it was great to see that both sides were playing well, and neither of them were playing particularly badly. And you could say this was a brilliant game of football, and it was definitely a brilliant second half in store after that, because I was definitely intrigued looking at that. But having said all that about Tyrone performing well, Peter Canavan mentioned it as well in the Sunday game. They were 5 points up at half time and they still managed to lose it. And playing well. How did they do that? I don't know. But yeah, it's a one that slipped away for Tyrone, despite Monaghan playing well themselves.
No, without doubt. I mean, they were 110 to 8 points up at half time, and they were just getting their scores easier than Monaghan as well. They were kicking points with, more effortlessness. Monaghan were having to work really hard for their scores, and that is always a tell for me. I always think, like, just by kind of rule of habit, what's, happened down through the years, I always look at the first 40 minutes. And if a team is working really, really hard to get scores and the other team is just, one quick move and they tap it over the bar, I think surely the other team can keep working this hard to get their scores throughout the entire game. But Monaghan in the second half switched it up. They got so much better. Conor McManus, as you mentioned, carrying the fight to them. Carl O'Connell, I thought, was fantastic as well, attacking them relentlessly from the half-back line. And in that second half, a turbo boost, no doubt, was the Stephen O'Hanlon goal. And, you poor fella, you missed it. You're telling me off air that a fire alarm went off and you missed the O'Hanlon goal, but I'm sure you've got a chance to watch it back. Just a fantastic individual goal by O'Hanlon, and it shows his sense of adventure. Like, he is a really exciting player to watch. And I remember him bursting onto the scene against Dublin in the league in 2019. I remember he jumped up above, I believe it was Keane O'Sullivan or Johnny Cooper. It was one of them, plucked the ball out of the air and just ran at the Dublin defence and stuck it in the net. And I remember being like, oh, this guy's a real adventurous forward that just always goes for goal. And he sniffed that chance out. He just saw, I think there was a Monaghan forward who was at the end line that had given him the ball and pulled out, and he just saw that space and he thought, I'm going to go by Conor Myler. Like, not even just a normal defender. Like, Conor Myler is a superb defender, and he went past him and buried it in the back of the net.
Yeah, what a finish, and what a finish, and what a time to miss a goal as well. Like, God, I'm done with these fire alarms. I'm looking forward now, Seamus, to just returning home permanently, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's a brilliant place, Scotland. I love the people here. It's brilliant, but these fire alarms, no, I wouldn't recommend coming here now if you want to get interrupted during a sleep or something like that, because you will get woken up, no doubt about that. But enough about my issues, more about Stephen O'Hanlon's exploits. What a goal, in fairness. And as far as I remember as well, Rory Beggan was driving up the team at that point as well. And you looked, and there was a kind of a moment where you thought Monaghan are definitely back into this game when Rory Beggan set up Kieran Duffy, goalkeeper, to full back. And you're thinking, how are they so far up the field? You know, and it was brilliant. And then O'Hanlon, that moment of brilliance, Micheál Bannigan was coming into the game, or Conor McManus was still hitting the lights out. You look at Conor McCarthy, I think hit a few points. I think he hit a point before O'Hanlon's goal, as far as I remember, and then he hit one towards the end as well. He definitely came into his own in the second half. Shane Harry hit a brilliant point. I think that was after the goal as well. And you're thinking, Monaghan are right back in this game now. And Tyrone brought it across. And again, Tyrone were still doing the right things attack-wise. But Monaghan, the pressure was absolutely relentless. And fair play to them for getting that goal through O'Hanlon. But Tyrone, you have to say, fair play for them for fighting back as well. I think Con Kilpatrick got a point straight after. Noel Stoughton got a point towards the end. Noel Morgan got a few. So, yeah, I think Tyrone definitely, they should get credit for the way they responded as well.
Oh, without a doubt. And I mean, coming towards the end, as I said at the start of the game's review, there were 3 or 4 times that I thought a team had won the game. Conor McCarthy's point in the 69th minute, I thought, right, that's going to be the winner. Then Tyrone pull it back. And McCurry's point, like, again on Darragh Canavan, the way he was able to pick that ball up and lay it off to McCurry as he's falling to the ground is absolutely remarkable. Then McCurry swings it over. I think Tyrone are going to win. And then this is the hot take, and I mentioned it to you off air, but I think the angle that O'Toole was coming in at, like, he went for it and it was brave, but like, even though it paid off, yes, now it is the right decision. But I genuinely think more often than not, Morgan saves that. I think Niall Morgan should have saved that. And like, look, it was a well-struck shot, but if you watch the replay, a keeper of Niall Morgan's ability. But hey, the ball went in, Monaghan won, and you can't argue with it. Look, it did pay off. But do you think he definitely took a risk going for the goal? You cannot deny that he took a risk going for the goal. If he had a hand pass the ball over the bar, nobody would have told him that he should have gone for the goal instead. But yeah, what do you think of that?
Just on the side note, Seamus, I think it'd be a great fun of parties. I will say that. But like, like in fairness, you have to say, like I said it to you off air as well. Getting in that situation, if you put yourself in Ryan O'Toole's shoes, like I'll ask you a question: what would you have done in that situation? Would you have popped it over, or would you have gone for it?
I don't know, to be honest. I really don't know. I probably would have hand passed it over the back. Like, I probably would have, because the angle he came in at was so narrow. And I actually think, I wonder what you think about this. I actually think Cormac Monroe was standing right beside Niall Morgan. And when that shot came in, Monroe naturally went to block it. And I actually think that if you watch Niall Morgan, he didn't really command the penalty box or the 6-yard box the way that he normally does there. And Monroe kind of was in his space. So Niall Morgan kind of went out very narrowly. And I feel like if Monroe wasn't there, he almost might have had a better chance to save that.
Maybe so, like, but if I was in this situation, I definitely would have fisted it over. I think everybody on the online community in the GAA would have fisted that over. And like, it's amazing when you think about it, because Tyrone, they were defending a lead. Like, I see your viewpoint in this. They were defending a lead, and you're thinking you should have more men back than this. And they'd only Cormac Monroe and Niall Morgan on the line, and they didn't really make a good attempt to block it, did they?
But that's what the crazy thing is that like Tyrone are kind of known for having a really tight defense, but they, as was said in the pundit box, they conceded 9 goals in the league, and then the way that they conceded that last goal was they got the opening pretty easy, like.
Yeah.
They didn't really do anything magic there, and Tyrone kind of just left that space open.
Yeah. And that's the new Tyrone, as we all say. Like, they do have attacking talent in Darragh McCurry and Darragh Canavan, but they need a strong defence as well. And they didn't see. I thought Tyrone turned the corner. I watched that game against Armagh, last game of the league. I was thinking, Tyrone, they're doing everything to block Armagh out. I remember Justin Kiernan had a chance for Armagh that last league game to keep Armagh in the league, and Tyrone were throwing bodies in front of them. So you're thinking, how could that not be applied today? You know, it's
True.
Maybe it's the fact they hate Armagh. I don't know.
You knew that they would just want to relegate Armagh. Like, they'd do anything to do that. But then contrasting it to Monaghan at the other end, when they got that goal, which, by the way, I haven't given it enough credit. It was a very good finish, and from a very difficult position. and talk about having the bravery and the guts to go for it. It was a magnificent moment there to see him running away. And then sure enough, he gets injured. I think what was it, 30 seconds later. But yeah, fantastic moment in the championship. And it will be one of the moments of the year, no doubt, at the end of the GAA season. But to see how Monaghan were so different compared to Tyrone. Once Monaghan got ahead with that goal, I was pretty sure that they'd done the Kilmacud Croaks trick and thrown on a 16th player to go and stand in the box. It seemed like the entire county of Monaghan was between Tyrone and that goal. They were not going to let them get a sniff, and they did defend that last Tyrone attack very well.
They did, and it actually showed how much they wanted it, Monaghan. Mm-hmm. They wanted it to win an Ulster title, but they haven't won one since 2015. That's 8 years ago now. So I think an Ulster title would be more vital to Monaghan than it would to Tyrone. And a side note as well, the Roy O'Toole getting carried off. It was almost like his coronation or something. The King's getting dragged off. Yeah. And you're the savior, Monaghan, and you're being dragged off here. But yeah, it was
exactly.
so many, and you have to question as well. I'll go back to it, but Monaghan were so vigorous in defence, not conceding that goal towards the end. Why couldn't Tyrone do it towards the end? I know it's a brilliant goal from Ryan O'Toole, moment of the year already. We've had 2 moments of the year, even New York last week as well. So even at week 2 in the championship, and we have 2 moments of the year contenders already, which is incredible in its own right.
Yeah.
But you have to question about Tyrone's defence. How were they so open at the back? How even did they let Ryan O'Toole in that much space? That's what I'd be questioning about Tyrone in the first place. But again, you have to credit Monaghan, because usually other counties would just shape up, go for a point with Conor McManus, get it to the shooter, get it to Jack McCarron if he was on the pitch at that time, or anybody that could actually shoot good points and put it over the bar. But they were willing to find Ryan O'Toole and go for the kill. And in fairness to Monaghan, for that bravery, they deserve to win the game. They might not have been the better team all day, but just for that moment alone, they deserved it, and fair play to them. And yeah, as you said, the whole county of Monaghan was behind the ball at that goal towards the end. And how fitting was it that Conor McManus, the man of the match in RT, took the ball out and the whistle blew. Brilliant moment.
Yeah, fantastic. And both teams deserve huge credit for producing a fantastic game of Gaelic football. And definitely that is game of the year so far for me. Yet to be beaten, but we will see at the end of the year. Hopefully this standard of Gaelic football continues throughout the year. So big respect to both teams. That was one hell of a game. And congratulations to Monaghan into the Ulster semi-final, where they will face Derry. And of course, Derry beat Fermanagh by 3-17 to 2 goals and 8 points in Brewster Park. And Rory Gallagher, I think I'd love to make a comparison with Rory Gallagher. He's like Emmanuel Adebayor. Do you remember Adebayor playing for Man City against Arsenal? He ran the length of the pitch to celebrate in front of the Arsenal fans when he scored. Rory Gallagher on the sideline, acting as if he's going to war back in Brewster Park, where, of course, he played for Fermanagh and managed Fermanagh. Very interesting.
Yeah, and to be honest, he was celebrating like a madman when the goal goes in. And then at the end of the game on BBC, he was saying, "This is the test we needed."
He's a character for sure.
He is, yeah. And he chose to do the interview instead of Owen Lynch, who actually got man of the match from the BBC. But yeah, that's a thing for another day. But
do you know what's another thing? And it just clicked in my head literally right there with Rory Gallagher and the trajectory that this Derry team is going on. I actually do think there could be a really, really engaging narrative over the next few years. Imagine this, just if you will, that Rory Gallagher continues to build Derry into All-Ireland contenders. And then bang, Jim McGuinness is hired as Donegal manager. And when Jim McGuinness first took the Donegal job, his number 2, his right-hand man, was Rory Gallagher. And the two of them are both absolute alpha males that want to be number 1. And imagine the story if Jim McGuinness is the man to come back and try and challenge Rory Gallagher for the Ulster Throne. Like, that would be one hell of a rivalry if it came to fruition.
You have a great imagination, James, so I'll give you that.
That's a WWE storyline there, student against the master.
Yeah, that'd be incredible, really. But will Jim McGuinness ever come back to Donegal after the way Donegal treated apparently behind the scenes?
Yeah.
It remains to be seen. That's the thing. But yeah, it was a brilliant. It was a good performance by Derry, particularly in the first half. But Joanne mentioned this on Sunday game again early on the show that once Conor Glass went off, they could see two sloppy goals really through
Yeah.
Shea Cullen at fullback, and Will Branham 2 goals in 3 minutes, was it?
It was 3 goals in
Only
3 minutes. 3
2
goals.
goals in 3 minutes for Shea. I meant.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was crazy. And then Derry got Derry converted a penalty in that 3 minute spell as well. So it was crazy. It was like Derry played their normal game, and the game actually went. If you saw the preview on, of course, Matthew's channel, we previewed this game, and to be honest, I'm gonna say we called it pretty correctly. Like Derry got their boost right at the start. They went 4 points to 0 ahead after 6 minutes. Then in the 13th minute, Shane McGuigan's goal moved them 1-5 to 2 points clear. That was a trademark Derry performance if we've ever seen it over the last 2-3 years.
It was, but a few things that we didn't call. We didn't say it'd be 12 points. No way. I don't think we would have said. I definitely said about 7 or 8. You said around the same
said 7.
thing. 7.
Yeah.
So, I
12 point. Yeah, no, that's even more impressive.
To be fair, like I don't think anybody would have predicted 12 points because we've seen how Fermanagh were good in the league and things like that. But what we did call on that podcast though was Fermanagh's defence. It was leaky, and you've seen it in the first half. Like 2 goals, 2 sloppy kind of goals conceded. Like Paul Cassidy's goal, he went straight through the defence. And it was very, very poor. And we were questioning what tactics would Kieran Donnelly come up with here. Will he park the bus or will he go man on man? He went man on man, and we knew what was going to happen because I even posted before the league final, they could see 11 goals in 7 games. That sheds you all need to know. Like, Fermanagh probably, along with Antrim, probably have the worst defences. Maybe Donegal is up there as well in the Ulster Championship. And that's not a good title to have, really. Tyrone could be up there as well. And yeah, it was incredibly bad for Fermanagh in the first half. But look, they gave their all in the second half, in fairness, like 2 goals. But having said all that, Conor Glass went off. I think a few others went off as well, and Derry folded. Maybe that's a cause for concern going into the Monaghan game. I'm not sure, will Derry be actually happy today that they will face Monaghan other than Tyrone? Because if they would have faced Tyrone, I think Tyrone would have vengeance in their minds. They're facing Monaghan now. Well, Monaghan would want an Ulster title as well. So
Derry beat Monaghan last year. Again, they hit them with that first quarter where Benny Heron, I remember Benny Heron's goal in particular was one where it was like, oh, Derry are going to run away with this. Monaghan brought it back, and it was a cracking game. But I genuinely believe that this Monaghan side are better under Vinnie Corey than they were under Banty.
Yeah, I think they are as well. And I think they'll definitely test Derry more than they did last year. But it was a situation like for Monaghan last year that I didn't think there was that potential to go further into the Ulster Championship. This season with Monaghan, I see a potential there. You look at the players, the Ryan O'Toole coming in today, obviously announced themselves. Jack McCarron, Conor McManus still looks good at the age of 35 or 36, which is incredible. Yeah. Gary Maughan wasn't even on the panel today. Aaron Mulligan didn't come onto the pitch today. Those are 2 players as well that could come in. So I think Derry will actually have a tougher definitely a way tougher test than yesterday, without doubt. Like, Fermanagh were just off it completely in the first half. They didn't come up to the standards at all. But word on McGuigan, with all the madness with Rory Gallagher and Shea Cullen goals and stuff like that, McGuigan 2-5 yesterday and 1-3 from play. And he was the second top scorer in the whole National League as well. Or third, sorry, Dara Foley was second, but he was the top scorer in the top 2 divisions, and he's continued that form. And it raises the question again, Seamus, we said this last year as well, is Shane McGuigan the most underrated player in the country? Definitely the most underrated forward in the country, because you look at the tallies he's put up for Derry, it's incredible, really.
And he's so consistent. It's every game Shane McGuigan scores 5 points, 6 points. It's every game. So yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's the most underrated forward in the country for sure. And you could make an argument about underrated player. I do think that a lot of the times defenders definitely get underrated. Like Tom O'Sullivan not getting an All-Star last year was crazy. Like, I know that everybody does talk about, how good he is and people know, but people don't know exactly how good he is. He's fantastic. I genuinely think he's so good. But yeah, no, there definitely is that argument there. We talked about the crazy 3 minutes, Shea Cullen getting 2 goals. Fermanagh were better in the second half. They put it up to Derry more, but by that point, as you said, the game was done. Derry had taken Conor Glass off, things like that were tellers. For the future now, though, and we will obviously get into a quick little preview of Derry Monaghan, but Fermanagh into the Tailteann Cup now, how do you fancy their chances in that?
It's a tough one, really. It depends. But then again, like they played defensive football against Cavan, and they were pretty much beaten earlier on in that game as well. But for maybe a late rally. Derry, they played open football yesterday and they got slaughtered. So, but will the open football work against little teams at the Tailteann Cup? No, that I think the fact that Clare beat Cork last weekend, I think it's opened the door for Fermanagh, definitely.
I agree. I said Clare would win it if Cork had beaten them. And now that Clare are not going to be in the Tailteann Cup realistically, like I think they will beat Limerick. Then I think for me, Cavan are my favourites to go and win it. But Fermanagh, I think, could do it. Like, look, Fermanagh beat Cavan in the league. I know that, in the league final, Cavan definitely got the upper hand in that game. But I do think that they are definitely contenders.
They are. I think if the draw goes right for them, I think a semi-final appearance, and we said this during the league final as well, and a second Croke Park appearance for Fermanagh, never mind 3, that would be incredible for the whole county. It'll give the county a lift, and that's the main thing for Fermanagh. And while we're on the Tailteann Cup favourites, like you have Cavan, you have Fermanagh. I think Down are up there as well. We'll see Down in action now next week. That's if they don't get past Donegal or Armagh or any of those sides. Same for Cavan. Like Cavan could easily get to an Ulster final as well. And if Cavan do get to an Ulster final, that will open the door up for Fermanagh to go to Tailteann Cup victory. So I think Fermanagh fans will be secretly cheering for the first time in their whole lives. Will be cheering for Cavan in the next 2 games. So it should be an interesting seeing Fermanagh households for that really, but it should be interesting.
Yeah, hell is officially frozen over. But so I do think that they are definite contenders going into the Tailteann Cup, and it'd be interesting to see how Cavan get on in the Ulster Championship. But the one that I'm more interested in previewing right now, especially after watching the Monaghan Tyrone game, is to preview their next one. The Monaghan versus Derry Ulster semi-final. And by God, when you look at how good a game last year was, and you look at the form of both of these teams coming into this game, Monaghan off the high of surviving in Division 1 yet again. Derry, again, a bit of a weird run of momentum, I think it's fair to say. Like they go 7 out of 7, undefeated in their 7 games in the league. I forgot that Cork pulled them back in the last minute in their game. But then they concede 4 goals to Dublin and lose that league final badly from a position where they were in, they were in a good position at half-time. And then they've got a routine victory against Fermanagh. So considering last year's result and considering the 2 results in the quarterfinals and the league and everything, how are you feeling going into this game now? Derry against Monaghan 2023.
I think it's safe to say, even at this early stage, the winners of this will probably win Ulster. Because I think these 2 sides look absolutely driven to an Ulster title. Like if Derry were to win a second Ulster in a row, that'd be an unreal achievement for Rory Gallagher, and Monaghan would definitely want to win an Ulster again. They, as I said earlier, haven't won an Ulster in 8 years, so they'll be definitely. And that goal from Ryan O'Toole, it's amazing what a goal can do for a team. Really, they could either drive you on for further better things, or they could just make it take your eye off the ball a small bit. Like, prime example, really, Cork in 2020. Mark Keane scored a brilliant goal, and a brilliant moment in GAA history, and then they lose to Tipperary. Like, Monaghan don't want this to happen again. That'll be the big aim for Monaghan, just to reach an Ulster final. But early on favourites, even after Monaghan's exploits today, I'd probably still go Derry to win it, because if Derry keep Glass, McCaig, McGuigan, as you mentioned, McKinless as well, I think was off air or something, but McKinless as well. There's another class player, Brendan Rodgers is there as well.
Rodgers,
yeah. So like if they keep all them fit, I think they definitely have a chance against Monaghan. But it's an interesting one, Monaghan. If they can get McManus firing, and like he did today, Monaghan always have a chance, and you should not sleep on them.
Well, it definitely is proper important when you talk about, the difference that a goal can make. Like now Tyrone are headed to the qualifiers and Monaghan are heading on to a potential Ulster title, and the momentum that can give them. You saw how the momentum from an Ulster title propelled Tyrone to the All-Ireland in 2021. Is it possible that Monaghan could be contenders for the All-Ireland now after this?
Jeez, it's really a tough one to call, because as Aaron mentioned beforehand, like about the provincial championships this season in particular, when you look at it, like the provincial championship champions, they won't really have kind of a prize, if you know what I mean. Like like for example, they'll go into pot one, then there'll be a pot two team for provincial finalists, and then there'll be teams in pot three and pot four. And let's not forget, Tyrone are going to be a pot three team, same as Mayo. And I said it about Mayo last week. Mayo will have a chance to go on a holiday or something like that, like Kerry did. Tyrone, likewise, they'll have a chance to go on a holiday. So maybe that will bring the team closer together. It's kind of a different scenario that Tyrone won it in 2021, because obviously you had to win Ulster to get to the All-Ireland semi-final because we were in COVID times. Monaghan didn't have to win Ulster this time around. Like, it's a difficult one, because when you look at Monaghan, the last two times they won Ulster, they still fell flat on their face in 2013 and 2015. So, I think it could go either one or two ways for them sides. Derry kind of drove them on last year, but to be honest, at Clare, I don't know, were they that they were such on a high after the Roscommon game that I didn't think they would get to the pitch again for that Derry game. So it was kind of hard to judge about Derry last season. The last real Ulster winners, I'm trying to think, who was the winner? Donegal in 2018 and 2019. They fell flat on their face in the Super 8s. So, there is points there that winning a provincial championship, especially if it's Ulster, it doesn't really bode well for teams down the line. Roscommon and Connacht is another example. It only bodes well for teams that are kind of seasoned campaigners, such as Tyrone, such as Mayo, such as Galway in particular. But for Derry and Monaghan, maybe not so. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, no, it'll be an interesting one to watch how it affects them going forward. But I for this game, like, there will be a full preview coming here on Play on GAA when we get closer to the weekend. So do make sure you check that one out, because there obviously is unknowns. Someone could get injured. Someone could get suspended. You never know. And that could change everything. Like, you saw the difference in Derry's level when Conor Glass came off, like in the Dublin game and in the Fermanagh game. So, like, that's what we're talking about here. For this game right now, if I had to ask you to pick, who do you think is going to go into the Ulster final? Who would you go for?
Derry. I just think because of the players they have, I just think Derry will do it. But Monaghan maybe going to the All-Ireland group stage straight for the Ulster Championship without winning it, maybe could be a blessing in disguise for them, because it'll give them a bit of a break, because they've been on the road for so many weeks when you look at the relegation battle they were in. So, and whereas Derry in Division 2 was kind of comfortable for them. So I think there'll be more of an onus for Derry to go on and win this game.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I have backed Derry from the start. I picked them to win the Ulster title, so I'm going to stick with them as my choice. But you can never count Monaghan out. That's for sure. You can never, ever, ever count Monaghan out. But yeah, as I mentioned, a full preview of that game will come here on Play on GA. So do make sure that you check that out. So we're going to completely switch over now to the league finals, which took place over the weekend in Croke Park. I'm going to start with the Senior League final. Kerry, 5 goals and 11 points. Galway, a goal and 10. And I would just like to say, me and Matthew called both of these league finals correctly. We predicted Kerry to win and indeed Armagh to win. So not a bad weekend for us, Matthew, on that front. But in this Kerry game, Kerry win their 12th league title with a scintillating attacking performance. The goals came from Louise Moore-Hertig predictably, Sheaf Roche predictably, Hannah O'Donoghue, and 2 from Niamh Croher. A fantastic performance by Kerry in this game.
Unreal performance. And when you think about it in the first half, look, I was looking at this game thinking Louise Moore-Hertig and Sheaf Roche were their main scorers going into it, and they weren't playing particularly well, and Kerry still scored that margin. That just shows you, like, if them two were on it for the championship, and Niamh Croher performs as well as she did yesterday for the championship as well, Kerry will be a hard machine to stop. I'm telling you, Seamus. And I regret to say this, really. I don't want Kerry doing well in whatever competition it is, But they look pretty good. And against a Galway team that looked defensively solid going into it. But what I
Yeah.
mentioned on the podcast as well, they conceded a lot of goals. They conceded 9 goals in 7 games. They don't concede a lot of points, but in this game, they conceded more than 10 points and they conceded 5 goals, which ultimately it was kind of uncharacteristic when you think about it from this Galway team. And Kerry just made them, eat their words after that. And it was a difficult game for Galway this game. But Hannah O'Donoghue, I don't think she played last year. She gets 1-3 in this game. I think she got a standing ovation as well. Outstanding performance from her, Liv Carberty and Anna Galvin from wing forwards. And it was great to see Louise Galvin come into the match towards the end. She missed the whole of last year virtually. And to come in, a legend of Kerry football. And who's not to say that Louise Galvin will get an All-Ireland medal at the end of her career? So I'd say Kerry are motoring along nicely. But one thing I will say about Kerry, I don't think they've beaten Cork. I can't actually remember the last time they beat Cork and Munster. Like, definitely Cork beat them in Killarney last season. That's another chance for this Kerry team.
Yeah, no, big time. The goals came in the 10th minute. That was the first one. That was from Niamh Ní Crogha. 15th minute, Louise Murherty got their second one. They led 2-5 to 4 points at half time. In the second half, Kerry got their third goal in the 38th minute and their fourth goal in the 39th minute. So they really did pick up where they left off in the second half. The goals there came from Niamh Ní Crogha and Hannah O'Donoghue. And in the last quarter, then, Sheaf Roche wrapped it up with Kerry's 5th goal. And one of the things that we were saying consistently when we were previewing the Ladies Gaelic Football Championship for 2023 was we were saying it was the most open that the championship has been in a long time, that there are a lot of teams that are around similar levels. But has this performance potentially pushed Kerry a little bit ahead of the pack here? Like, are they better than all these teams? Like, are they better when you look at how they dismantled Dublin in the league, when you look at how they beat Meath in the league as well? Like, are they a little bit ahead of the pack? Obviously, with the exception of being able to beat Cork. But do you get what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. I think Kerry, it's kind of a situation where we're thinking, okay, they've beaten Meath pretty well, they've beaten Dublin pretty well. I think they beat Galway pretty well in the league even before the ball was even thrown in yesterday. But like yesterday, they were absolutely superb. Like even the Sheaf Roche, the last goal, that was almost like a basketball goal, Seamus. That was incredible. It was a brilliant piece of play. And brilliantly worked back of the net. Brilliant finish by Sheaf Roche. And well brought Sheaf Roche as well. I think she had something like an ACL injury or something like that in 2021. She comes back into the team as captain. What an incredible player, and what incredible resilience to come back from an injury like that and do what she does. But Kerry, they look incredibly good. Like I even mentioned on my podcast, Erica McGlynn was scoring freely for them last season, and she can't even get in this team. I don't think she even came on yesterday either. So, that shows you the depth that Kerry have in their team. Fiona Tatney is another player that is very good for UL in O'Connor Cup level. And I think she got into the pitch for maybe 10 minutes yesterday as well. Like, these players aren't even starting, so maybe we're underestimating Kerry's panel. Yeah. Like, they're incredible athletes, but you'd have to imagine like Dublin will go up a level. Like, Dublin still have incredible players. Hannah Tyrrell, Carla Rowe are still there. Jennifer Dunn's still there. I'm not sure what the situation is on Sinead Goldrick. Is she coming back or is she gone completely? So Dublin's still a good player. Meath, like Eamon Murray's left. But when you look at Meath's panel, they still have Liam O'Sullivan. They still have Vicky Ball.
There's something with Meath though, where last year's All-Ireland final kind of felt like the end. Just something about it, the way that Eamon Murray left, and there was all the rumours about Vicky Wall going to Australia, and just there was something about it for me that kind of signalled the end of an era, and the Eamon Murray with Meath era, and it is over now. He's not there anymore. Whereas Kerry haven't reached that goal yet, and they're just gonna have more hunger than Meath, I feel.
That's a valid point. I think so as well. I definitely think so. I definitely think they'll have more hunger than me. But we'll talk about Armagh in a minute. Like, Armagh have to be up there as well. If they keep their consistency up and their scoring rates up, I think Armagh are in the conversation as well. Mayo have outstanding players as well. Like, they're in the conversation. Like, if Cork, like, Cork as well, I don't want to toot my own horn really, but Cork beat Kerry in the league as well. Cork were up there. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
with
big
new
time.
exuberant talents. But the thing is with Cork, they beat Kerry and Munster last year, and you're thinking, and they beat Donegal in the group stage, and you're thinking, okay, there are two teams that go on to reach the All Ireland semi-final in Croke Park, and you're thinking, okay, Cork are making some progress here, and then they lose to Mayo and Ennis, and ultimately then it's over. So
Hmm.
if Cork cut out inconsistencies, I think Cork are definitely up there this season. I definitely think so. But Kerry definitely at the moment look the front runners. But I would say at the moment Dublin are a close second, because you look at Dublin's players, as you know more than me, Seamus, but Dublin's players they still have are incredible.
Yeah, no, there's players breaking through there, the likes of Kate Sullivan, Queeve O'Connor, that have been on the fringes over the last few years, that are now taking front and centre for this Dublin team and really stepping up to the plate. So it's a new era with that Dublin side, no doubt about it. But I'm looking forward to seeing what it brings. But yeah, absolutely massive, massive congratulations to Kerry. They win their first league title is since the 90s, and their 12th league title overall. A scintillating attacking performance gets the job done. So we're going to move then to the other league final, which happened in the football over the weekend, which was the intermediate one. 4 goals and 9 points, Laois 2 goals and 10. And out of all the games that we called for on the weekend, this is the one where we called it the most accurately. We pointed out how Laois have conceded quite a lot of goals in the league campaign, and they were coming up against a certain Amy Mackin, and she hit 3 goals and 3 points in this game. All 3 of her goals came in the first half, as Armagh rumped really to 4-9 to 2-10. They win by Aoife McCoy got the other goal for Armagh, but just that burst in the first half, just ridiculous. And Amy Mackin at it again.
Yeah, and you have to say now, Amy Mackin is the best player in the country. I
I agree.
know there's Vicky Ball, I know there's Emma Duggan, I know there's Schaefer O'Shea, but I have to say this player is absolutely ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
if we're talking about David Clifford here, David Clifford levels, you're saying, oh, outstanding for David Clifford. Amy Mackin is the David Clifford of NGFA. There's no doubt
agreed.
about that. 3 goals in 9 minutes.
Yeah,
My God, that is incredible. I have to say, even when she kind of broke through as being one of the best players in LGFA in 2020, I think she scored a hat trick that night against Tyrone as well, as far as I remember.
mm-hmm.
That was incredible as well. And you're thinking, and it's a shame, to be honest, that she's going down to AFLW, because she is by far and away the best player on the island at the moment. Incredible player. She is helped by Aoife McCoy, excellent. Blauheen as well. Blauheen's assist. It's kind of like, it's so similar to Kerry men's football, if you know what I mean, because you have
Yeah,
that sibling bond. You have Pauline David for Kerry in the Kerry footballers. You have Blauheen and Amy for the Armagh ladies footballers. It's weird, really, but it's kind of true, because Blauheen, I think she assisted maybe 3 goals yesterday as well. Outstanding showing. She got 2 points herself, which was brilliant. And even the girls coming off the bench, like Niamh Reel, definitely added a bit of zest coming off the bench, scoring a point. Kelly Mallon wasn't having her best day, but she still got a point on the board. So well done to Armagh. Brilliant, brilliant victory. But for Laois, Aron Fitzpatrick, you have to mention her as well. 4 points from play. That's
yeah.
incredible, incredible scoring rate. And another player going down to AFLW. I know this isn't part of really the game that we're talking about, Seamus, but it's kind of upsetting in a way that these sorts of players are going down to AFLW and leaving ladies football by the way. So because Rowan Fitzpatrick and Amy Mackin are 2 of the best players in the country at the moment. And
Without doubt. And you
yeah,
look at, Vicky Wall and the like that is literally the best players in the game are going to AFLW. Cora Staunton's been playing over there. I know she retired recently, and in my mind, she's the greatest um, player that I've seen playing the game. Right, well, one of for sure. And you look at like Breach Corkery has something like 18 All Ireland medals, like so she has to be in the conversation as well. But no, Cora Staunton spent the last few years of her career playing over in AFLW, and it's one of those things that you would look at it and say it would just be great if we could keep all these players playing the GAA instead. And that's one of the things that definitely has to be looked at, because with Meath and Dublin there was a real rivalry building there. There was a real like storyline that you could keep up with. And with Eamon Murray gone now, and with Vicky Wall and going to Australia and things like that, like I do genuinely think like they've missed the trick there, like with the marketing and stuff like that. And I know it's an amateur game, and I know that the players play of their own want and of their own desire, and they play for the passion and for representing their team. But that could have been a serious rivalry, like, and I know it was, but I feel like it could have done more. And for players like Amy Mackin and for players like Aaron Fitzpatrick, I get it. I get why you go. I get why Colin O'Riordan went. I get why Zach Toohey went, because if you're not playing on the best team, and it's more applicable this for Colin O'Riordan and for Zach Toohey, because I actually do think that the structure in the ladies Gaelic football, as we've talked about many times before, is way better than the men's structure, because every year you go into the competition that you can win it. And like, you're at the level that you have got on merit, and each team going into each competition has a really good chance of winning it. But when Armagh have gotten to the senior level, it does seem like it's Amy Mackin against the world sometimes. And I understand why she'd be tempted to go to Australia. I understand definitely why Colin O'Riordan and Zach Toohey looked at it and said, realistically, am I going to win in All Ireland? No. And then the AFL come calling. I get why you go.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you look at Amy Mackin, you look at Vicky Wall, they're the best players in the country. But then when you look at the best men's players in the country, David Clifford, Dermot Connolly, this is off the top of my head now, Darren McCurran, they wouldn't go down to AFLW or AFL, should I say. Why, like? And that's why we're asking this. Why Colin O'Riordan and Zach Toohey went down? Because realistically, Laois and Tipperary are not going to win the All-Ireland in men's football. They simply aren't. But whereas Armagh have a real possibility to win the All-Ireland, so do Meath, so do Cork with Erica O'Shea gone down, so do Dublin with Sinead Godric going down as well. And you're questioning, why are the best players of the bigger teams going down to AFLW? I suppose there is a positive in all this, the fact that they could go and play for their counties early on in the season, but then go for the second part of the season, the AFLW. But then that's a loss for clubs then. For Eric O'Shea, for example, Macroom, it's a loss for them. It's a loss for Shane O'Neill's with Amy Mackin. It's a loss for Fox Rock, I think, is Sinead Godric's club. So it's going to be a loss for them. So that's a big thing. So that means the club scene in ladies football is actually getting hurt more than the inter-county scene. And that, to be honest, is quite sad when you think about it.
Yeah, no, without doubt. And look, it's definitely a wider debate for another day as to how this problem could be fixed, because I do genuinely think it's got to the stage now where it is an issue, because these players aren't playing for the clubs now. They're going and playing in Australia. At least we still see them in the inter-county season. That's the one thing that I will say. At least we're still going to see Amy Mackin, Vicky Wall, Aaron Fitzpatrick strutting their stuff in the championship this year. And definitely, if you are someone that likes watching players stick the ball into the back of the net, then watch Amy Mackin, because she is absolutely a fantastic footballer. Like, 3 goals and 3 points in a league final is just absolutely remarkable.
And when you look at not just the goals, but the points she was getting, it was almost like, I'm comparing her with David Clifford a lot now, but it was almost like Clifford-esque. And how it was incredible just to watch, even when they were under the cautious small bit, Lauren Earney got that goal for Laois, you're thinking, who's going to step up here? And Amy Mackin stood up, in fairness, and got a few scores on the board for Armagh when they were struggling. And it was kind of weird to see 4 goals in the first 10 minutes overall for Armagh, 4 goals and no points to no score. That was a bit of a weird kind of score in the first 10 minutes, but fair play to Amy Mackin. Fair play to Aoife McCoy as well. Like, I know Amy Mackin is kind of hard being in the team with her because she gets all the plaudits, and rightly so, to be honest. She's an incredible footballer. But Aoife McCoy as well, 1-2 from playing. I had her on my podcast a few years ago as well. Brilliant girl as well, and brilliant player, and brilliant person as well, and wish her all the best, So Armagh seems to be going places, like Grace Ferguson in the defence as well. Clodagh McCambridge is an excellent fullback. And I'm actually wondering, I wondered this all weekend, is she related to Barry McCambridge? That up-and-coming defender for Armagh? If they are related,
I mean, it's not a very common second name, so you would think so.
Yeah, and they're both defenders. They both know what they're doing. So you have to say, their resemblance is absolutely huge. So, and Blaheen obviously was excellent. Blaheen Mackin, Niamh Coleman was brilliant. And it was great to see Alex Clark. I think she put up a few social media posts as well. Great to see that she was around the dressing room as well, celebrating with them, because she's had hard luck with her injuries as well. Obviously, wishing her all the best in her recovery. Like even Anna Carr in goal was pretty good as well. But credit to Laois, even Laura Doherty was brilliant. Roe Fitzpatrick, Moan Ernie, and Laois needed that penalty to make it a game before half time as well. They got that bit of luck as well, and they stuck it away. But Laura Ernie's goal, in fairness, was an excellent taking goal. I have to say, in fairness for a wing back. It was brilliant. And credit to both sides. Both sides now in the senior championship. It'll be interesting now to see how Laois come up against Meath and Dublin, because yesterday they kind of had to learn a few things about their defensive structure. If they can get that fixed, I think they could push Meath and Dublin all the way if they get a run and Moan Early, of course, firing.
Yeah, no, with those two up front, they have two world beaters up there. And it's just if they can tighten up at the back. Because Meath going forward with the likes of Emma Duggan, Stacey Grimes, Niamh O'Sullivan, Vicky Wall, like they will punish you for making mistakes like that in the similar way that Amy Mackin punished them in the league final. Dublin's forwards as well, Kate Sullivan, Caoimhe O'Connor, Hannah Tyrrell, Carla Rowe. You can't make those mistakes at this level, and they are at this level, and they've earned it. And that's the way that I think the men's game should be as well. But obviously, that's the other debate. But so just wrapping up on that, congratulations to Armagh, Intermediate League champions for 2023. Both sides in the senior championship now for 2023, and I can't wait to see how they both get on. So then we're going to go to the last league final that happened over the weekend between Galway and Cork in the Camogie, and Galway retained their title 2-13 to a goal and 12. Galway, remarkably, in this game were without Sarah Dervin. They were without Orla McGrath. They were without Siobhan McGrath. They were without Sarah Healy. And they still won this game. And me and you did pick Cork to win this one. I thought Cork were in too good form. But Carrie Dolan with a goal and 8, leading the way. And a crucial goal halfway through the second half from Sabina Rabbit sets up Galway to go and win.
Yeah, and to be honest, like even the stats tell you all you need to know in this game. Cork, 44% shot accuracy. Galway, 68%. That just says you all need to know in Cork. We're just not on it. And I don't know about this Cork team. Like it's a worrying trend, to be honest, Seamus. They have the players. There's no doubt about that. It's not like the hurlers, the footballers of this world that we don't have the players and we're losing deservedly so to Clare and the likes of that last week. But it's the fact that we have the players to go on and win these national titles, All Ireland. And we have the performances going into games. But we can't seem to find it on that particular day. That's a worrying sign for Cork. Again today, like even a few situations in the second half, I thought with Cork, like there was a few chances. Like I think Saoirse McCartan's goal chance. You were thinking with Amy O'Connor in that situation, go for it yourself. Go for goal. Yeah. You know what? Just didn't. And you look at the other end, Galway, Sabina Rabbit, she goes straight through and goal, back in the net. And that's the difference. Yeah. Like Galway were clinical, Cork just weren't clinical in this game. And Carrie Dolan, what a performance from her. And I think she got she had nine scores today, 11 shots. Incredible.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I have to say. Incredible performance. Sabina Rabbit, Aoife Donoghue, and Edith O'Reilly was in very good form, and she didn't score today. And an interesting stat about Galway, none of their full forward line actually scored a thing.
That's mental. That's absolutely mental.
You know, it's
and they win the game. Like, that's mental when you think about it. You go in and you tell your whole full forward line is not going to score, but you're still going to win. Like, that's one of the weirdest stats of all time. It's like, I don't know what to make of that. Like, that is crazy.
It is, to be honest. I think even people that aren't interested in Camogie, but actually, look at that stat and think, what? Seriously?
Yeah. It's like with Kilkenny last year. You're going to score 226, but you're not going to win. Like that type of, like that level, the Limerick Rat in that hurling final. But like a stat that if you just found it out with no context, that Galway's full forward line, we're not going to score in this game, you think it would be a bad day for them, especially considering the form of Cork's forwards going into this game. And the likes of Amy O'Connor, Fiona Keating, like the form that Orla Cahalane as well, who actually got the goal for Cork in this game. I thought Cork were going to win. Is there an issue with Cork? And you were mentioning this. Is there an issue with just getting over the line in finals?
Yeah, there is. And there's no papering over cracks here. Like when you think about it, Cork do have the players. You mentioned Orla Cahalane there. Amy O'Connor is in the scoring form of her life at the moment. life at the moment in the last 2 seasons. Fiona Keating was excellent. Like Libby Coppinger, like the defence. It shows you with Galway's full forward line didn't score. The full back line was doing their job for Cork today. And they still can't manage to get over the line. It's so frustrating. Like, it's not a situation where you're so disappointed with the performances of the hurlers or the footballers. It's just with this situation, you're just frustrated that they just can't win that title. Like, I think Anna Geary mentioned on the Sunday game as well today, Cork haven't won a title since 2013. And that was when Anna Geary was captain.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's going on 11 years now without a league title. That's incredible, really. And it's a bad start for Cork to have, especially when we mentioned on the podcast during the week, it's a 3-horse race between Kilkenny, Galway and Cork. And Cork haven't won a title in 11 years. You know, and it's something seriously wrong there. And Galway were without their main players. They're bidding in a lot of players. They even mentioned, I think Ursula and Anna and Anne-Marie from Galway mentioned it on the panel as well. Galway were bidding in players in this season. They were without Sarah Durvan, without the McGraths, and they still managed to win it. You know, and to Cork were with their first team and somehow lose it. And what's that going to say going on down the line in the championship? You know, and I think that'll be a worry for Matthew Toomey that they can't finish off these games, especially against a Galway team. They're probably cut from their best 15, in my opinion.
Oh, without doubt. I mean, they were missing 4 players that would walk into their starting 15. And obviously, Hannah Cooney recently retired as well, was another big loss to that Galway side. It's Galway. Like, you think 2021, when Galway beat Cork, like Katrina Mackin, when she got that goal, I thought, like, that's it. Like, Cork are going to go on and win this game now. And they just somehow let it slip. And for Matthew Toomey, that definitely has to be one of the things he has to nail down. They have to get over the line in a really big game and prove their mental strength, because now not only do they have the triangle to deal with of Kilkenny and Galway as the other top teams, you've got Tipperary on the rise. Like, the form that they were showing in the league was very promising. You got Waterford there on the rise. Last season looked like they were making huge progress. You got the likes of Niamh Rockett, Beth Carton, bringing the standards up there. Like, so they have to make sure that they start making this time period when they have the players, as you said, make it count, get over the line and win the All-Ireland. They need to start doing that.
And to follow on that point, time is running out. If they don't win the All-Ireland in the next 2 years, it's a massive failure for Cork. Like, the players they have, I can't fault the quality of the players. Like Libby Coppinger, I think, was in the form of her life last year. Fiona Keating's an excellent player. I think Amy O'Connor is one of the best forwards in the country. Like, they have excellent subs coming onto the field as well. I think Orla Callahan is one of the best up-and-coming players in the country as well. But if you're not going to win the All-Ireland in this space of time, what's the point? You know, and that's the harsh reality for these Cork players. They have to go on and win the All-Ireland now. Because if they don't, it's going to be massive time wasted. And when you think about it, Kilkenny and Galway don't particularly win multiple All-Irelands in a row. Up until when Kilkenny and Galway started coming into the frame more, it was usually Wexford and Cork winning All-Irelands back to back to back. But no Galway and Kilkenny will come onto the fray. Cork just can't deal with them. And that's a sad reality, really. And it's going to be difficult for Matthew Toomey to go on and win the All-Ireland. But let's not forget, Kilkenny were not on colour in the league. Galway were not on colour in the league. Cork were on full colour in the league. And they still managed to mess up in the final. You know, and not win it. That's a worrying sign. It's a worrying sign. It's a worrying sign to have.
Yeah, not for definite. And then Galway, like, what did they do better? Because obviously we did pick Cork to win this game, and Galway went and won it. You have to give them the credit for that. What about Galway impressed you in how they won this game?
Mainly the defence. Like, obviously we don't have the luxury of seeing Camogie live games. I only watched Galway in one game against Cork, and that was at the end of the league. And their defence, it was mostly just getting over the line, adrenaline to get them over the line for the league final that game. Because let's not forget, Tipperary lost to Kilkenny that last league game. And it was basically a lifeline for Galway to get into the league final. But Galway's defence today, Dervla Higgins, Emma Hillibert, Roisin Black at full back, outstanding. And Dervla Higgins was one of my player of the matches. Even Aoife Donoghue, who eventually got the award from RT, excellent defensively and attack-wise. Even Donoghue scored 2 points. And it was back to the basics where we know Aoife Donoghue. She scored 2 points in 5 games up until this final. But then she hits 2 points today. You know, big players. And maybe that's a lesson for Cork as well. Maybe not to peak too early in the early stages. Like you see the likes of Fiona Keating, Chloe Sigurdsson, Amy O'Connor show their real form in them 5 games. And you look at Galway's form and you're thinking, okay, they're a bit average, aren't they? But then once it gets to the heat of battle in Croke Park, they
They
perform
turn up
well.
and take the cup, yeah.
They
That's
do.
exactly it. And they did take the cup, and absolutely huge congratulations to them. Camogie League champions for 2023, retaining their Division 1 title. So that is the full recap, guys, here on Play on GAA. Matthew, thanks so much for coming on with us today. Do subscribe, like, share, and comment, and do check out GAA Statsman as well across all the socials for more GAA content. And yeah, guys, thanks so much for giving us your time. And until the next one, take care.